Welcome boaters, Captain Keith here. I'd just like to take this moment to thank you for tuning in each and every week for our Boating Tips Live. And on behalf of myself and MarineMax, we hope you had a great 4th of July weekend.
Hi guys, Captain Nick once again with MarineMax in St. Petersburg. Sorry that we're not going to be coming at you live here with Boating Tips Live on Facebook. Miss you, Captain Keith. But I want to let you know that we will be back. Got a lot of great stuff coming, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July holiday, and I'll see you out on the water.
Susie on here just asked a question. She said she bought a stern anchor to assist in anchoring at the sandbar, but they're nervous. Any recommendations?
Well, I think you're the man on that, Keith. I've seen you do your magic out at Bunce's Pass. So what are some major takeaways there?
Pull up to the beach and kind of circle around. You want to stick your bow out offshore away from the sand. You want to drop your bow anchor in the water, and then typically you want to have about 5 feet of anchor line out for every foot of water you're in, at the depth of the water. So say you're out at Egmont or Bunce's Pass or something, you'll set that bow anchor down, start backing your boat up towards the beach, and at the same time you're going to be trimming up your outboard a little bit so it's not going to be hitting the skeg into the sand. You want to stop and make sure that bow anchor is set. You want to make sure it's dug in real good, and then already have your stern anchor, the end of the line, already tied off to a cleat on the back of your boat. So then you're going to be back in maybe 2.5, 3 foot of water. So it's going to be easy to step out, and you can walk that stern anchor up to the sand and stick it in the ground. And then typically, if you have it tied off next to the side where your boarding ladder is, so that way if you got, current or something like that, you can just kind of use that stern line to pull yourself back out, up to the boat. And then you can adjust the boat too. If the tide comes in and it gets too deep, you can let out a little line on the bow and pull your stern anchor up closer to shore. But you're always able to adjust it back and forth that way. Hey, so last week there was somebody named Matt from Wisconsin. And what kind of diversion do you think fishing or just being out on the boat can provide during these crazy times we're in right now?
When you're out on the water, it's like it all goes away. And I'm sure that I don't know if you were out on the water last weekend. I know that you probably did a delivery or two. The amount of boats on the water, it makes you feel good. It does, especially when you go by the boats that you might have delivered or the ones that you might have sold. It's almost like all that nonsense goes away. And I think that's the whole point. I mean, it's a bummer with a lot of vacations getting canceled and stuff. But if you are fortunate enough to live in Florida or even up north, you got your boating season coming up. If you are at home, I know MarineMax is calling it the endless staycation, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. You're
getting out on the water. You're forgetting all this nonsense going on right now. But no pun intended. We all are in the same boat, literally and figuratively. So you get out there, enjoy the weather. We're all still here. Just enjoy those that are close to you, of course, while practicing social distancing guidelines. I know in Florida, it's 50 feet apart, no more than 10 people on the boat. I don't know if that's countrywide, Keith. What do you think?
I'm not sure, but it's obviously it's common sense, just spread out. But we've had, the sales guys are working from home, service departments open and stuff like that, and we're still able to do deliveries. And we do practice the social distancing and stuff. But quite a few of my customers that bought boats this last month or so bought specifically because of this. They see what's going on. It's the only thing you can basically do, at least here in Florida, is still go boating. And they're coming in and saying, we're doing Arthur because of this. Bow thruster or joystick?
I'll let you go first.
Well, joystick's a lot easier.
I used to think bow thruster. I did, until you learn the joystick. Keith, I'll let you hit on that a little bit. Obviously, the important things to remember, 16. Coast Guard's always monitoring 16. Another important thing with Channel 16, don't be messing around, because that's for Coast Guard, and it might come down to them saving somebody else's life. So if you're trying to see what Jimmy over on his 3:30 outrage at the sandbar is eating for lunch, then you might want to switch to a different channel. But all of them are going to mean different things for the most part. So Keith, you want to run through that really quick? What stations mean what? You don't need to go through all of them, but just the main ones here that you need, whether it's for safety or recreation. What's your take on that?
So channel 16 is your hailing and distress channel. If you have to make an emergency call, you need to call the Coast Guard or somebody, you're going to call them on channel 16. Channel 16 is recorded 24 hours a day. So if you are in an issue where something tragic's going on or you're sinking, there's a fire, if you can get your name, your position out, the Coast Guard can actually go back and listen to that again if you've only got a few seconds to get it out. Channel 16 is also your hailing channel. So if you see another boat going down the intercoastal waterway, they should have their radio on channel 16. If you've got a radio in your boat, you're supposed to maintain all methods to maintain safety. So you should have your radio on, and it should be on 16. So if I see Nick going down the waterway and he's MarineMax St. Petersburg and I'm MarineMax 1, MarineMax St. Pete, MarineMax St. Pete, MarineMax St. Pete, this is MarineMax 1, over. Nick could call me back and say, let's switch up to a working channel, which there's 5 basic ones you want to use, which is channel 68, 69, 71, 72, or 78. So if we switched up to channel 68, then I say, hey, Nick, what's going on? Hey, we're heading out to Egmont. Okay, we'll see you out there. If the kingfish bite's on fire and he wants to tell me where they are, which he probably wouldn't, but we go on channel 68. He can tell me that. When we're done, you want to go back to channel 16 and stand by. If there's any weather bulletins, anything crazy going on, local notice to mariners, there might be a channel marker down. The Coast Guard's going to come on channel 16 and make you aware of that. If you're traveling down the intercoastal waterway and you're going through Lake Okeechobee, you want to go to channel 13. Your locks are all on channel 13. So there's specific channels designated for specific things. So like channel 12 is like for port operations. So you don't want to get on channel 12 and start talking because you might have a Tampa Bay Harbor pilot trying to talk to a freighter and you might be drowning them out. So you got to be careful, what channels that you go on to. But say you had, like I was reading up, say you had a personal locator beacon, with an MMSI number in it, or you're going to just, obviously it's going to go off. But if you fall overboard, something happens. And if it's connected to your MFD, and let's say you've got FLIR, that it will actually send an alert. It'll go to that chart plotter, and then the FLIR will get notified. And then it'll do like a man overboard and go in it. The FLIR will lock on the person on that signal that it's receiving. It's incredible.
It is. Yeah, there's a lot of integration between all the different systems on board. So yeah, a lot of those PLVs have they have AIS in them now too. So if you go in the water, they'll kind of show up as an AIS contact. And yes, yeah, you can through a feature called Slew to Queue, when we have a FLIR camera on board. And basically, you can have the FLIR camera automatically follow different types of targets on the system. So one of those could be an AIS contact, and that AIS contact could be that personal locator beacon that's over the side. And the camera will pan and tilt to keep that person in the camera's field of view automatically as you're maneuvering the boat to go rescue them.
The thing that I love most about Mercury is after the sale. I mean, I'm selling boats with outboards on them primarily. After the sale, Mercury is an exceptional engine made by an exceptional company with exceptional customer service, exceptional warranties. And when you go up to that plant, I went up to the plant in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, okay? And the people that are working in that plant, those are homegrown Midwesterners, I guess we could call them, in Wisconsin. And I'm sure that you can talk about this. We talked about this a little bit before, Tad. You got fathers going in there with their sons. You've got grandfathers going into that factory with their sons and their grandsons or daughters. There's a huge amount of female workers in the plant too, which I think is extremely impressive because the guys are usually out deer hunting or whatever. And the blood, sweat, and tears that go into every red meat eating American that is making those Mercury engines, that don't tell me that doesn't have an effect on the final product.
Well, I mean, it is so awesome. First of all, thanks for your comments. And I know we and I were talking earlier about when you were at the factory, and it is so humbling for me to go up there and see again a grandfather, maybe his granddaughter is up there walking into the same gates that that their dad or their grandpa before that even walked into and worked at that plant. You know, there's a lot of robots in there today, but we still can't hire enough people. So if anybody's out there wants a job in Wisconsin, go put in a job application. We are always looking for good people. But it is, the pride starts with our employees. You know, engineering does a great job of creating a new product. We'll put in a system, a process, a building. But again, it all takes those men and women to go in there and have been going there for 81 years to work. But at the end of the day, I think the people that are Mercury people are boaters. Last weekend, 2 weekends ago, Memorial Day weekend, you know, our people were out on the water. I had a hard time getting hold of some of our employees. I had a couple questions on Friday, and they were already out on the water with their families, whether they're fishing or just boating. So the people that are putting the boats together, doing the R&D and the engineering are boaters themselves. Are we perfect? No, we want to be perfect. And we think we're better than our competitors. If there's a problem, our guys work with your people, and your people make sure those customers are back on the water as fast as possible. But today, you know, these boats are about as reliable as an automobile. You know, changing oil is about as simple as anything. There's electronic dipstick on all the new Verados where you can turn on vessel. You can see what your engine levels are, or your engine oil levels are on your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 engines. So all those things breed into reliability and performance, sound and vibration and harshness. We don't. If you want to listen to a loud motor, you can have Captain's Call, and you can hear your Verado a little bit louder, more like a Pro XS. So I think all those things go into why Mercury is who they are today, and again, just why Evinrude chose to who are we going to put on the back of our boats that we own as a company at Bombardier? We're gonna put Mercury's back there, and I think that says a lot when your competitor chooses you. It probably wasn't price, because we can't afford to give things away. We have to charge a fair price for it, but I think that says volumes when your competitor chooses you to take their place.
What do you do with expired flares? That's a good question that I don't know the answer to, but I know you do.
They're still going to work, so don't throw them in the garbage. I've covered this. There's a lot of boating tips videos out there. If you go subscribe to the MarineMax channel or go onto YouTube and look MarineMax boating tips, and I cover this. Take them to your local fire department. Go to your local fire station, drop them off there. Those men and women there will take them, and then they can use them when they're doing their practicing and their pyrotechnic stuff. They're burning stuff up and all that stuff. But do not throw them in the garbage. Once they're lit, you know, they stay lit. So once you snap one off, even if you inadvertently do it, which you couldn't really inadvertently do it, I guess it's a pretty dramatic thing when you light it. But even if you stick it in the water, it's still going to keep on going. So take them to the fire department.
At the end of the day, Keith, it just comes down to using common sense, be smart. If I could leave one point of advice, whoever's driving a boat, I mean, we talk about what's the legal limit, 0.08, 0.08. Set somebody aside to be at 0.0000.
Yep. I agree.
And then you eliminate so many variables right there. You're not thinking, oh, can I drive? Can I get pulled over? What's going on? Am I going to get in trouble?
Take turns.
Right off the bat.
Take turns,
Yeah.
right? If there's a bunch of us you fish with all the time, right? You know, you're going out, red snapper bites on fire right now, gag grouper, scamp. I mean, everybody's lighting it up, right? Tuna, sailfish, everything's going on up the Gulf right now, right? So, you know, you leave out, you know, you got the beers are in the cooler and all that stuff, but the captain of the boat of that day, the guy that's in charge, you know, has zero. When he gets back, then have at it. You know, the boat's back on the lift, you're back at the house, you're in the pool, you're cleaning fish, you know, then enjoy the day, you know. Tracks are worth their weight in gold. You know, just leave your tracks turned on. Whether you're in a high and dry, you're at your lift, you go to a boat ramp and you've never been there before, right? And you leave and you're out on the water, and all of a sudden you're trying to get back. Everything looks different. Everything, you know, all the mangroves and where do you cut through and all that. So just let the tracks run in the background the whole time. So you follow that breadcrumb trail right back home. If you didn't hit anything on the way out, hopefully you're not hitting anything on the way back in. You know, you're not going to hit any markers. You still got to watch out for boats and other objects.